Well, hello, folks. It's Mike here. I just want to welcome you back to Mr. Cast Iron. We got Mrs. Cast Iron riding shotgun with me again tonight, so I'm in good shape. I didn't have her last night, Mister, and I certainly missed on a few things that I was trying to do. But anyway, we got her with us, and we got a great show tonight. I've been looking forward to this. I've got Drew with Outdoor Indoor Texan, and so we're going to pull him on and see if we can't pick his brain a little bit. Hey, Drew, how you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Oh, man, we're doing all right. What do you think of that background I got there for you?
I love it.
I do, too. I couldn't remember. I started to, was telling Teresa earlier, I started to put a Cowboys symbol up there or a Houston Texan symbol, and I thought, well, I don't know which, he may not even like any of the teams in Texas. I don't know, so...
Yeah, that could either be really good or really bad, depending on the side.
It's funny. I did that last night. I was interviewing Brandon with Taylor's Fire and Smoke, and man, I put a lot of time and effort in getting everything together before we went on air. And I had the Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals symbol on there, several of the birds and different things in the red color background, and he wasn't even a Cardinals fan. But it worked. Yeah, it worked out all right. I'm going to pull that back out a little bit. Well, it looks like we got some people popping in there. We got Stephanie with Ginger Snap Kitchen, and looks like Steve with Dutchy Cooking all the way over there in the UK with us, and Jeff with Tennessee Buck Outdoors. So good to see you guys, and looks like we got several people starting to pop in. So I certainly want to introduce everybody and let you know we've got Drew with Outdoor Indoor Texan. We're going to pick at his brain a little bit here in just a few minutes, but Darnell's popping in there. Tennessee Grilling and Smoking, got Dustin there, so good to see you guys. And hey, if you guys have any questions for Drew, be sure, and Teresa's going to try to run the chat room for me a little bit until Stephen, hopefully Stephen and Jacqueline will be here in a little while as another moderator. And but if you have any questions, be sure and just put at Mr. Cast Iron and put your question there, and we'll try to get that up on the screen and see if we can pick at him a little bit. So enough for that. We'll go ahead and get started. How did you get started doing YouTube, Drew?
Well, I think this is probably a common answer for a lot of folks you've talked to a year out now. For YouTube specifically, COVID, being locked up in a house, doing a lot of the stuff I typically do with my family anyhow. For a long time, I had switched over from cable to watching YouTube and other avenues of entertainment. And after a while, I realized I was doing a lot of the same things I was following, and made the leap last March to start my own channel and just give it a go.
Yeah. How would you describe your channel mainly?
Oh gosh, I should have better answers for these things, but the three main pillars I put it in is barbecue, wild game, and southern cooking. It really surrounds a lot of the stuff that, like I said, I've been doing for years prior to this that I didn't realize I was getting pretty good at until I started sharing it with a lot of friends and family, and got a lot of positive feedback, a lot of invitations to parties, and then, oh, by the way, could you bring this and that you made last time? And so I'm an avid outdoorsman. So a lot of wild game comes in from my hunting hobbies. And then I love using smokers. Both my grandfather and my father before me were avid outdoor smoker barbecue guys. So I grew up with that in the tradition. And then southern cooking is just kind of a catch-all for the rest of the things that I cook, that being, home pickling or something fried or everything in between.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed. I'm going to pop this echo off here. I'm going to pull your channel up if you don't mind. We'll take a look at it because it was very interesting on your about section. So let me pull that up here and see if we can. Well, hold on here. All right, here we go. There it is. Okay, let me pull it up full screen here. Yeah, that's real interesting. I like your banner graphics there. That's real cool. You got going on there. Looks like you got little over 1,560
Wow.
or so subscribers. And you said you started, looks like April of 2020. So that's really good, man. You're doing real awesome there.
I got really fortunate. Early on, I was just kind of throwing things up to see how the process was working. I was no expert, and still am not an expert in editing or filming. But I didn't realize that there really wasn't a big, heavy volume when you search, hot sauce and other chili pepper specific stuff. And so my grandfather and my father are always the kind of folks where if you went to dinner, they would reach into their shirt pocket and pull out a chili pepper to eat with their steak. And we just always
that's me.
He does.
We just always grow peppers, always have them in the backyard, and all those things are just kind of part of the norm. And I've been making hot sauce since I was in high school or college, and I posted a habanero hot sauce that I had created on there, and for whatever reason, it was one of those things where I didn't have TubeBuddy or vidIQ or anything yet, but someone told me like, "Wow, you're tagged," and I was like, "What the heck are you talking about?" And then they told me that like every search term I used for my keywords was in the top 5 or top 10, and that thing went like crazy. I think it has something like 85,000 views now in less than a year.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at your about section here, and then we'll get to that one of your popular videos. But it says, and I'm going to read this if you don't mind. It says barbecue, wild game, and chili peppers, 8th generation Texan. So that was interesting. Teresa and I talked about that. Lover of the outdoors and all things food and cooking. This is a cooking channel that reflects my influences from living a life with one foot in the outdoors, hunting and fishing, while having the other planted in one of the largest and most multicultural cities in the U.S. I'll showcase both kitchen and barbecue, grilling recipes, and beyond. So if you don't mind, elaborate on that 8th generation Texan. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, of course. There's a lot to unpack in that whole paragraph. 8th generation Texan, my family, last name Kennard, we were part of the old 100 that came down with Stephen F. Austin and settled Texas officially as part of the land grant system with the Spanish. I actually have a map downstairs of the initial land grant that our family took in Grimes County 8 generations ago. Mm-hmm. And since then, we have always had some hand in living near or owning land or doing something around that county, which is about an hour and a half northwest of Houston.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome, man. I'm going to pull up, let's see. Well, we'll get back to the lover outdoors and all that here in just a little bit. I've got so many questions, man, running through my mind to ask you. So I'm pretty excited about this, but we'll go ahead and pull your channel up and look at your videos here. Sort this by most popular. And it looks like, the habanero hot sauce is the most viewed with 88,000 views in 7 months, man. That is totally freaking awesome, dude. I'm just going to say that's so cool. So
it was a little stressful. It's one of those things where when I started it because I wanted to share some of the things I was doing anyways. I have a notebook full of home recipes and cooking that I've been doing and creating recipes just through research and development of just messing around with stuff in the kitchen. And I started slowly putting those on YouTube as just kind of a fun, I've got time to kill on a Sunday or a Monday videos. Yeah. And as when I got my first 50 or 100 subscribers, and I thought that was neat. But I still kind of just considered this as me talking to myself in my little corner of the internet.
Right.
And it wasn't terribly long down that rabbit hole that habanero video popped down. And then I got a little nervous because I had a lot more interaction happening probably a little bit sooner than I was expecting.
Yeah. I'm going to pull that off there. But, you mentioned there that you're in one of the most multicultural cities, and that really threw me because you didn't elaborate on it. And I lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex for several years, and I thought, well, he's got to be talking about Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you live in the Houston area somewhere?
I do. I live on the west side of Houston. Gosh, I mean, like I said, there's a lot to unpack in that entire paragraph. I guess to screw down to that specific part of it, both my father and my mother at one time or the other were food writers in magazines, mainly for Texas Monthly.
Wow, really?
Both my mom and dad published a book on roadside cafes of Texas when they were pregnant with me, actually. And I say all that just to say that I was raised in a house that always had a conversation about food. If that was the Thai place down the street, the barbecue joint in Llano, or everything in between. I mean, it's just always something we're talking about. You know, what's opening, what's closing, what's good. Or we're talking about the recipes that we're making over the weekend, or, you know, mom's New Year's black-eyed pea stew, or what have you. And so it's just been something that has been our zeitgeist. And as far as me going through my life, I went to college up in Texas Tech out in West Texas, and then through meeting a million people from all kinds of different places there. And then I started my career living in West Texas out in Midland, Odessa, and talking to people out there. I realized that not everybody had that much of a focus or care about food as I did and as my family did. I remember specifically one of my earlier jobs. I came back from a weekend trip. I think I went to Dallas or something, and I ate out and took a bunch of pictures of my food. And I was showing it to my boss, and she thought I was the weirdest person in the world for just having pictures of my meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just excited because it was my first time trying this or that and what have you. And so food has always just been a big conversation starter. And then being in Houston, multicultural food is just the norm here. We eat Vietnamese, Japanese, South African, South American, and then all kinds of different cuisine from the United States and Europe constantly.
Yeah.
The choices we have are pretty wide and crazy. And I didn't realize that was something that wasn't very normal until, you know, just getting out of town and meeting a lot of people elsewhere who thought what I was eating was really weird.
Yeah, yeah. So you went to school in Lubbock, or?
I did, yeah.
And what was you doing in Midland, Odessa? It's funny that you say that, because when I left Arkansas, actually Missouri, I was born and raised in Boot Hill of Missouri, southeast Missouri, and a little place called Kennett, Missouri. And some people may know that name by Sheryl Crow. I went to high school with Sheryl Crow, but anyway, and several other people that are fairly famous now, you know, from that area too. But anyway, needless to say, I went to the oil field and worked out there. And I lived in Odessa for a long time, worked for Permian Tank right there on I-20. Yeah. We set up, we built oil field tanks and set them up out in the oil field. And once they pumped it out of the ground, they put it into those tanks, and then, you know, tanker truck. Take it to the
distillate.
To the refinery. Yeah. So, but, you know, before I let this slip my mind, Teresa brought this to my attention earlier, but let me see if I can back you out here. But in the background there, you got a hat there, and usually you wear that. As a matter of fact, that is your logo on your YouTube page. And then I also see that in Instagram a lot too. So tell us a little bit about that hat and what it's sitting on back there.
Because I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier. That is one of my cowboy hats. And I think, you know, not to get too long-winded, but like it definitely references back to that paragraph where I live in Texas, but I also live in Houston. I feel like those are two very different universes, because Houston is a very international metropolitan city. A lot of international folks and interactions, but we're in Texas. My family's background is ranching in the county that all of our family is from, but we live here in Houston, which is much more cityfied. And so there's a cowboy hat, and then there's a suit in the closet, and it just depends on the day. But the cowboy hat I wear when I'm hunting or out of town, or unless it's rodeo and livestock show season here in Houston. And then it's sitting on a very famous saddle that's from my wife's family. Her family's from Mississippi and New Orleans, and her grandfather ran the county fair in Jackson, Mississippi.
Been there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tupelo. making things up in my head. But
I do that all the time, man. So you're okay.
but he knew Elvis as he was coming up, and they had Elvis play at the county fair a couple times, and he was somebody that called on him personally when he was asking for advice and getting his way through everything. And that is a championship rodeo saddle from that county fair in Mississippi.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. You talked about that hat, and I mentioned it being part of your logo on your YouTube, but also on Instagram. And we were talking off camera earlier about I've got Steve with Dutchy Cooking in here. I interviewed him. Steve doesn't, and Stephanie with Ginger Snap Kitchen. Both of those, neither one of those actually show their face on screen. And we noticed, watching you and looking at several of your videos, you don't show your face either, and you got that radio voice, man. I'm really surprised.
It started at a simplicity, because I still operate with simply a ring light and another LED cube light and my phone, an iPhone 11. And initially trying to get a good shot of me just sounded like a nightmare. And it was a heck of a lot easier to focus on what I was doing and filming that correctly. And then it made a whole lot of sense also to me, because that really is the whole point of what I was trying to share, was the focus of these recipes, this method, these techniques. And I didn't want to be, not that there's anything wrong with any of those folks, because I follow a lot of those channels. I didn't want to be that person who was the talking head on YouTube and spending 15 minutes talking about my day and my routine. I wanted to talk about the food and what I was here to focus on. Yeah. And so it's worked out so far.
Yeah, it really has. You're doing good. Looks like your sister's in the house with us, Susan.
Yeah. Well, actually, my sister's Ashley. She's somehow logged on as my mother.
Can you see the comments? I meant to ask you that earlier.
Yeah, I just switched over. I saw that.
Okay, good. All right. Well, man, I tell you what, I've got so engulfed in what you're talking about. I've not even welcomed very many people. There's a lot of people here that have popped in. We got Grumpy Old Gringo. Good to have you. Cravens with Carlos, my little buddy Carlos. Golly, there's Craig behind the garage barbecue. And man, I tell you, Aaron. Victoria Waltrip, Smoking Bears. We got Lee with Smoking Bears. And man, if I missed you guys, I apologize. I'm certainly not overlooking you. Little Eric's with us, little buddy. Do you know Little Eric? Are you aware of Little Eric, Drew?
I'm not.
Little Eric is 6 years old, man, and he makes cooking videos. So you ought to go check his channel out sometime. He's pretty cool. He's in here with us all the time, and he's awesome. Down in Trinidad area, way down Trinidad, Tobago. And we just love him. He's our little nephew, we call him. He calls all of us uncle and aunt. And but we just love to have him in the house or in the kitchen with Karen's with us. Good to see you. Gosh, I've missed so many people. Yeah. Guys, if you have a question for Drew, be sure to pop it in there. Teresa's with me here. You're running shotgun. She's going to try to stay on top of that. And if you have not yet been over to Drew's channel, be sure and go over, check out Outdoor Indoor Texan. Be sure and watch his videos, gives him a thumbs up on them, and leave him a comment. If you've not yet subscribed to him, tell him you've seen him over on old Mr. Cast Iron's channel, and I'm sure if you hit the subscribe button, he'll certainly appreciate that as well.
Stephen and Jacqueline have some on down.
Stephen and Jacqueline.
They have his information.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jacqueline or Stephen's real good about that. So, all right, man, I had to do a little PR there for you. So just wanted to pop that in, guys. If you be sure and go over and check him out after the show. Now that we're going to dive deep into some of this stuff and pick his brain a little bit. So, I know you're probably like me in a lot of ways. You probably was a consumer of YouTube more than you were a contributor for a long time. And I know you told us earlier that because of COVID and the things like that, being quarantined, different things, that probably was one of the driving factors for you starting your channel. But what I'm sure you probably had several foodie channels that you watched before you actually decided to create a YouTube channel. Could you share something with us about that?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm a member of a couple of different YouTube cooking Facebook pages, and this question seems to come up a lot. Folks are wondering who you followed, who you consider mentors, etc. And my answer has always been kind of a left field one, especially for what my specific food focus is. But there's a channel called Dinner Party Tonight on YouTube that my wife turned me on to, and it is this lady who has just the funniest, craziest personality you could ever guess. And she's based out of Manhattan, New York, and she runs a theater program for a full-time job. So she's, obviously joking, but very much the different tone of what I bring to YouTube. But her channel is just fantastic. She walks through how to make multi-course, full-on house party meals. You're going to have your appetizers, your grazing table, your first course, your second course, your main, and then your dessert, including drinks and everything else in between. A lot of her big episodes are an hour plus, but she actually walks through almost real time how to do everything in the right timing so that it is ready and coming out in that chronological order for the people who are actually cooking that kind of stuff. And it's extremely informative, but it's also really, really soothing and just very much entertaining. But and then beyond that, I love talking about that one because she doesn't have as much notoriety as some of the bigger channels, but it is very much a great channel to watch. And then beyond that, a lot of the ones that everybody else likes a whole lot, which I'm now blanking on because you asked me.
That's okay. We got Mama Z's Texas Kitchen in the house. She's just north of you there in Conroe.
Yeah.
And, I interviewed her not too long ago. She says good old Texas guy. So certainly right about that. Teresa's poking at me here. We must have a question.
The name of the channel.
Yeah, I just put it in
but
there.
I didn't know. Okay. Yeah.
Name of the channel is Outdoor Indoor Texan.
But I thought he was talking about the one he said Dinner Party Tonight.
Oh, Dinner Party Tonight. Yeah. Sorry about that. My bad.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one he was asking.
One of the two.
We got them both in there. And we got you here. We have you here with us.
Yeah. There's Samantha Lewis with us again tonight. So good to have you. Now I know we've certainly talked about that, but I know you're bound to have some off food channels that you like to watch. I know, and we're going to get into this in a little bit because you've already touched on it a little. I know you're a hunter. I know I've watched several of your, I won't spoil it, but anyway, I've watched several of your videos, how to break things down. And, but anyway, I'm certain that you have other channels that are not food related channels that you enjoy watching. What are some of those you could share with us?
Gosh, let me pull it up on my phone.
Okay. Put you on the spot, didn't I?
Yeah, just to make it easier because, I feel like I'm missing something. As far as hunting and fishing, there's a couple channels that come to mind. There's one that's really good out of Corpus, a guy named Thresher Fishing. He is just a quirky guy who lives and breathes saltwater fishing. I think he's another one of those channels that deserves all the praise. Because he's not, multi-million follower kind of dude. Yeah. Great personality, great content. If you have any care at all about saltwater fishing, as far as hunting and fishing and all those other outdoor things, all put into one thing. Deer Meat for Dinner. Yeah. He's a great host, and he covers everything from hunting deer, hunting pigs, offshore fishing, inshore fishing, and then he incorporates all of that wild game to then bring it into the kitchen. Most of his episodes are, I went and shot this, I went and caught this, and then I made this amazing meal for my family, all in the same episode. So yeah. I've always greatly enjoyed that.
Yeah, I'm subscribed to them too. That's a great channel. Jeff over in Tennessee says, how big are the ticks in Texas?
Honestly, not too bad in my part.
You got to watch him, man. He's something else. What did I miss one there?
One right below it, right there.
How has the multiculturalism of Houston shaped the three pillars of your YouTube channel, Aaron and Victoria?
Oh, geez. Well, if you follow my channel, or if you just now being introduced to it, there's a couple of recipes on there that don't get a lot of love because they're not as popular in the general sense of some of the other recipes on there. But I make make a ghost pepper kimchi, which is obviously Korean-based fermented pickling. I think that speaks directly to my background in living in Houston and eating everything and anything that I can get my hands on. There's a couple other recipes. I mean, there's a heavy influence of spices. Again, with the pickling focus, there's a lot of stuff with fermentation pickling that's really, really focused in multicultural. And then also, I think there's a bridge that gets brought from eating wild game, where I think in the traditional United States mind, it's weird to eat what runs free. And I think I share that mindset with more of an abroad approach than folks around, the suburbs.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that was really something in the back of my mind once we kind of got around to that. I wanted to kind of hit a few things here and there before we got there. But, I understand and know just from your about section and certainly from your videos that you're bound to be a hunter, bound to be a fisherman. And I've seen the deer recipes and everything. Of course, I hunt and fish too. And I love that. Try to go hunting every year. I didn't get to go this year because Teresa and I both unfortunately got COVID right around deer season. So I had to stay in and didn't get to go. But I've got quite a bit of deer meat in my freezer. And you're right. A lot of people don't realize how awesome venison is. And I mean, it's very lean meat. There's very little fat to it. And you did a great job breaking it down and cutting it up off the bone and everything. And I thought that was awesome. And that was the very first video. I was looking for something because I have a deer meat sausage video that I created. Basically it was just deer grind, and I took and bought a package of ground pork from the grocery store and added my own flavorings and spices to it, mixed it all up and fried it up as breakfast sausage. But that video does real well. And yours come up as a suggested video. And I thought, well, let me check on this outdoor indoor Texan. I know it's got to be interesting. So that's how I initially found you. And from that point on, I subscribed and started watching, and I reached out to you to see if we could get you on the show. And we certainly appreciate you doing that.
Well, I appreciate the invitation, obviously.
So now, do you you were talking about deer meat for dinner earlier. Do you do any hog hunting or anything, wild boar?
I haven't had a chance to do it as much as I'd like to. It's not necessarily something you sign up for in Texas. Is more so that you're already deer hunting or you're just shooting guns at a friend's ranch and there happens to be 40 wild hogs walking through a pasture, and then everyone says kill them, because they're just, I mean, not for you, but for anybody else watching, they're very, very bad invasive species. They're not native to Texas, and they produce a really big problem here in Texas and throughout the United States as they're getting everywhere else. They turn up the land, they mess up ag, they mess up the land for cattle. They eat young fawn deer. They eat other small livestock. They're just the worst thing that you can ask for. And they're also pervasive breeders. I forget the numbers, but it's something crazy where one sow wild hog can make 30 pigs within a year, if not sooner. And so it's a problem number wise that you have to just nip in the bud. And unlike a lot of other people, though, I do feel that that's an opportunity to just get fresh pork. Some people feel that they're unclean animals, et cetera, but I think that's just another issue of trying to convey to the public how good something can be, even though it looks a little scary and dirty.
Yeah, even though it's a nuisance. Yeah, they think they think because you tag it with that it's bad. It's unclean. Yeah, it's just bad. I mean, but now as far back to venison and deer, I know you guys you don't have a whole lot of whitetail down that way. It's mule deer, isn't it?
No, it's whitetail.
You got whitetail. Yeah, that's good. Did you tag out this year?
I've been really fortunate in being invited to, well, here in Texas, they have a managed land program with large ranches. So folks who have large private ranches, you don't have to use your own personal tags. You get to use the tags from the landowners. And so I was invited down this season and last season prior to a friend of mine's ranch, where they essentially are allotted a certain number of tags to reduce the population within their acreage. And because of that, I get to jump in and take care of the doe and help reduce their population so the population thrives and fill my freezer for the year. So, I mean, I'm not in the sense of hunters and the way that there's different stereotypes. I'm not somebody, with buck fever running out there trying to get a 12 point or get something from a wall. I'm very much more focused on just finding food and having fun with it. So I'm very happy every year just shooting a doe or two.
Yeah, we're a lot alike in that sense. I'm the same way. A lot of guys around here pick on me about that because I'll certainly get a little meat and put in the freezer, won't I, Teresa?
Yes,
but,
yes, you do.
Anyway, let me pop that back up there. I didn't ask that. Up north, they have hog traps that they drop from trees that can catch a whole
sounder.
Mm-hmm.
Sounder.
Which might be the term for a group of hogs.
Could be. David recommends hitting them with a pressure washer to clean the hide.
Yeah, you can pressure wash them, or you can roll them through a fire and burn all their skin off, or all their hair off their skin, rather.
Right.
Or, I mean, the real common thing that I've seen is people just take the hams and the loins and let the rest go to scavengers.
Yeah. Good to see you, Julie. I think there's a couple other I missed there. I think Long's Quest is in the house with us. Good to have you, sir. Gosh, I may have missed some more, but I'm certainly not doing that intentionally. We welcome everybody here in the chat room. And if you have any questions for Drew, be sure and leave at Mr. Cast Iron and leave your question for us, and we'll try to get that up on the screen. So, but anyway, let's kind of move on here a little bit, if you don't mind. How do you come up with your recipes? How do you formulate your recipes? Is it something that you maybe grew up, your mom or grandmother or somebody may have cooked, or is it something that you've seen on another creator's channel on YouTube, or just popped in your head and think, well, I'm going to make that today. That's what we're having this week, so that's what I'm cooking.
Well, it's honestly, it's kind of a hot mess of all of them, as well as some other ways. Firstly, it kind of depends on the time of year. In the way that I'm thinking about, do people really care about the venison recipe if we're not in hunting season or just thereafter? Or do people care about a chili pepper recipe if we're in the middle of the dead of winter, or vice versa? But beyond that, also, I keep a running list of things I see, because like we talked about earlier, I was a consumer well before I was a creator. So I still watch a whole lot of cooking shows on YouTube, as well as Netflix, Amazon, etc. And I'll see the idea of something, and then I'll go, well, what if I added this, changed this, or did this completely different but use the same idea of taste? And I've got a huge tick list on my phone. I actually created 2 different ones where there's like the broader idea of recipes versus the shorter ones, but you can see. Right. This is like a running list of recipes that I've been thinking about. Yeah. And then there's the shorter version of my actual to-do list that's actually coming up. And then, so it's usually, I'll get inspiration for something to say it in a distilled way. And then I'll mess around with it once or twice without filming it. Maybe add this, take this out. And then I'll be confident enough with it to, sit down and actually film the thing.
Yeah. Never Say Never Barbecue. Mark says just subbed Indoor Outdoor Texas. He lived in Texas for a good while. I interviewed him a while back. He's a good dude. He's over somewhere in Ohio right now, but hadn't seen him lately. Been worried about you a little bit, Mark. Hadn't seen you lately, so you'll have to go check out my fried tater video I made. I thought you would be there on that, man. But anyway, little Eric said he went over to Uncle's channel and talking about you, Drew, and first video I saw was hot sauce, and that's what I'm talking about. So, little Eric likes that hot sauce too. But no, that's interesting that you pull that tick list up that you have there for videos, because that's a little further down in my list and my notes. But let's jump on that. I'm very interested in that, because I keep a long list of videos, and I heard you talk about TubeBuddy earlier and vidIQ and different things. I use MorningFame's another one, and TubeBuddy mainly, but I really like MorningFame. Nico's a real good dude. Matter of fact, I'm trying to get him on the show sometime next month, and to talk to all of us a little bit about his program, because it certainly helped me a lot. But since you had a friend talk to you about your tags were ranking, and now you've got this tick list, do you try to find things that you know you're going to rank for and then try to make a video according to that, or you just try to pick one and say, well, I'm going to work on that this week?
More so the latter. I'll get excited about something before I do any serious due diligence about it.
Yeah.
And I think if you look through my list of video uploads, that probably speaks to that as far as view counts go. Like there's some that have multi-thousand views and others that I still had a passion for that, maybe less than 100 people have checked out.
Right.
That being said, once I make my mind up and go with a recipe, I do try to think about when it would be best to post it, time of year, if it's, relatable, like I said, to whichever pillar I'm focused on, and what time of year is more lined up for that. And then I'll try my best to make it easier to be found as far as SEO, keyword marketing, title, and I'll put a lot of thought into presenting it the best I can so that it ranks well.
Looks like Teresa and Cam with Flour, Eggs, and Yeast is with us. Good to have y'all. Teresa over here is poking at me again. So
I found you a question.
Mark said, yeah. I missed her last night, man. I missed a lot of questions. If everybody was in here in the chat room that were there last night, I apologize. I went back and watched that video, as I always do. Everybody I interview, I go back the next morning and watch the complete interview, where I can stay completely focused on what's being said and not 11 other things I'm trying to do during the interview. And I pick up a lot of stuff, and I noticed I missed several questions last night. So I certainly apologize for that. That one right there. Okay. How old is your big green egg, and have you ever used the pizza stone?
My green egg is, it's close to 10 years old now. And I've tried making a pizza on it maybe once or twice. I'm not the expert when it comes to that specific recipe. But yeah, honestly, it just kind of broke down to, I really, really like using my egg for long-term barbecue, just because it's so easy to control. It's so easy to, our daughter turned 4 this last week. We had her birthday party yesterday, and Friday night I put a pork shoulder in there around 9 o'clock at 225 degrees, and I woke up at 7 and it was at 230 degrees, and about 45 minutes away from the temperature I wanted it to be hitting. And that's what I love about the egg, is the low and slow, just set it and forget about it. And then obviously it's fantastic for crazy high heat searing. Just the pizza stuff I just haven't really gotten crazy about yet, I guess.
Well, that's typically one of my questions about equipment, is what's your favorite equipment? So I'm going to say it's probably your green egg, huh?
Well, no, honestly, it's the green egg and an old cast iron pan. That's something I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah, rock on. All right, now we're talking. Man, you come back on my show anytime, brother.
There's a lot of things that I definitely didn't set this channel up to be a specific barbecue channel. I didn't set this channel up to be a wild game, catch, clean, cook channel. And I think that's just one of the weirdness of me. And so if you're following me because you found my venison thing, you might have to suffer through a lot of hot sauce and a lot of other stuff before we get back to venison and everything else backwards. And one of the things that I find myself cooking with constantly is a number 8 cast iron. That was my wife's great grandmother's.
Wow.
And I treat that thing like a very, very special object, that it is. Right. Season the heck out of it and scrub it down every day.
Yeah.
I cook with that almost every day. I made breakfast with it this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen. I think it was the one you did. I've seen one of your videos where I believe it was chorizo. I think it might have been a jalapeno.
He did the jalapenos. The twist jalapeno with corn dog mix.
No, yeah, I seen one with the cast iron. I don't remember. Mm-hmm. Victoria says your kimchi is pretty incredible too.
Yeah, Victoria's a buddy of mine, and she and her husband are both fans of some of the things that I find myself having a lot of because I'm cooking for the show.
Yeah.
And I bring them over kimchi specifically because her husband Aaron, he is a huge fan.
Yeah. I also ask, how's the multiculturalism of Houston influenced your cooking?
No, I think we jumped on that a little bit
Oh,
earlier.
we
that
already
was
hit
there
that?
earlier.
Okay, my bad.
We already.
No,
You
you're
see why I need Teresa? You know, I mean, I don't even know why I got the mouse in my hand here,
you
but
won't let me
anyway.
have it.
Let's see, B.E. Jenks, good to have you with us. So certainly, you know, we talked quite a bit about the channel and different things, and you're certainly new in the sense of channels, but I know you're bound to be like the rest of us, and we talked a little bit about this off screen. But I know you've got to have some short-term goals and some long-term goals. What can you kind of elaborate a little bit on that with us?
Well, it's funny because when I started in late March, early April of last year, I set a moonshot goal, quote unquote moonshot goal. Like, this is no way this is going to happen, but I'm just going to do my thing and sit in my little corner of the internet and talk to myself and cook, and maybe I'll get 1,000 subscribers in a year. And I was fortunate enough to hit that. I think that was in October, if not November. So well under a year. And since then, I've just been burning and turning. So I haven't really had a chance to put my mind to any other marks since then. Now I'm just really trying to focus on longevity. I know that burnout is a big, scary fear and problem for a lot of folks. I'm an administrator on a Facebook group that's all about cooking channels. And it's sad to say, but you see a lot of folks who are really big contributors to content for a number of months, and then all of a sudden they disappear. You look up their YouTube channel and it's gone away altogether. They delete everything or just let it hang.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my focus now is more so just finding a rhythm where, especially coming out of this quarantine lifestyle back into the norm or whatever kind of norm we're in, where I can continue to make a pattern of content that people enjoy, that isn't sporadic, that also isn't so much that it's impeding on just me enjoying my life otherwise.
Right. Catherine says, now, do you pre-wash your cast iron with dish soap before you put it in the dishwasher? No.
Mike, I feel like that's your expertise. I mean, you use a lot of Dawn, don't you?
Oh, no dishwasher, folks. No dishwasher.
And
Well,
no
now
dog.
I've got a dishwasher. I kick her in the butt and
yes.
push her up against the sink there,
I'm
you
the
know.
dishwasher. He makes the mess and I clean it up.
I'm just teasing.
Well, I mean, for an opportunity to talk about cast iron, everybody does something different. Usually I'll get it up to a high heat after I cook with it, take it over to the sink and just do like a high pressure spray of water that shoots steam everywhere. And if that gets everything off as far as hard bits, job done, take it back and re-season.
Right.
Or light season, just rub it with the oil. But if there's still a bunch of stuck on egg or something, I've got one of those, like everybody else probably now, the Amazon squares of chainmail. I just throw that in there and give it a light rub across anything, takes all the stuff off. Then I take it over to the oven and put it on medium heat with just a light dab of canola oil or vegetable oil and let it smoke and then turn it off.
Yeah. I'm a big bacon grease kind of guy. I know Mark's in here with Never Say Never Barbecue. He's all about BACON. So I know he'll certainly appreciate that. And while we're talking about Mark, I got a couple things here I want to show everybody. I got a sticker from Mark, Never Say Never Barbecue, in the mail the other day. So Mark, we appreciate that. And then I got another one here that come in the mail. Interviewed this lady just the other day. And this is Stephanie with Ginger Snap Kitchen. I can't get it to focus there, but there it is, a little bit better. Ugly mugs knocking it out, I guess. But anyway, Stephanie, we appreciate that. She wrote me a little note, said, thanks for having me on your show, Mike, Stephanie. So we appreciate that, guys. And, on that note, if you have a sticker and you'd like to swap stickers with us or whatever, we would certainly do that. And I'll pop my email address down here on the bottom ticker, and it's scrolling across the bottom. Just shoot me an email. This is a take. This is Green Acres Place, spelled Akers, which is my last name. So greenacresplace@gmail.com. And shoot us an email and let me know your name and address and phone number, and be sure and sign the title over to your truck and your boat and everything, and we'll send you a sticker. But anyway, we've got a old Skillet head sticker here. If you guys would like to have one, we'd be happy to send you one. So anyway, with that being said,
I got to tell you something.
Tell me something, baby.
Drew has a short on how to start a fire with bacon grease.
Yeah,
there
I
you
know.
go.
I seen that. Yeah, I was going to ask you
I
too. That
watched
was
that.
one of my other questions. I know you're doing a few shorts. How is that working out for you?
It's hit or miss. I feel like that's what everybody's saying. I had the fortune. I think the first short I made was something that I've made when cooking other stuff on the grill. I just take a romaine heart, cut it in half, drizzle a ton of oil, salt and pepper, and then just char it, and then take it back in the kitchen and put cheese and whatever else you want to top it with. It's a grilled romaine salad. I made a short of that just kind of as a tester, and I didn't realize that there's a really famous Hell's Kitchen Gordon Ramsay episode where he lights this guy up and about how horrible of a thing that is. And how he hates it, etc. But the funny thing about that was, because it was such a touch point for people, I had all this interaction when I made that short, and it got thousands and thousands of views and a lot of negative comments, but it's still interaction. And so that was my first foray into shorts. I haven't had that kind of luck since then, but I'm also kind of happy I haven't, because there's a lot of people telling me I didn't know what I was doing and I was terrible.
Then yeah. Now that you mentioned that, I was going to ask you too. Have you had very much negative comments or negative feedback on very much of your videos since you started?
Typically, no. Thankfully, obviously, the habanero one is probably the best example of my usual interaction with folks, because I have 85,000 views, if not more, on that video, and probably 3,000 comments or something crazy by this point. And I made a conscious effort, which I'm still sticking to, is responding to every comment on there. It's not like I got 3,000 in a day, but and so I definitely know when someone's saying something, may that be positive or negative. And I'd say 99.9% of the time, it's people just asking, what if I add this and take this away, or what have you. And also, when I do get a negative comment, it's usually people who are just, watching YouTube late at night, and that's their knee-jerk reaction to something. So I don't take it too badly to heart. I just tell them, thanks for watching, whatever.
Yeah, it's still some engagement anyway,
Yeah.
And I don't know if you were on the show the other night, we were talking about thumbs up and thumbs down. And, thumbs down, a lot of people, and me too, for a long time, until I really understood it. For a good while, I thought, why would somebody give me a thumbs down for that? There wasn't nothing wrong with that video. But, some people like your content and some don't. Not everybody will.
Yeah.
But the thing about a thumbs down really doesn't affect you. It's still engagement in YouTube, in the algorithm's eye or whatever. But the thumbs down, all it does for people, now that I understand it a little more, is it just won't suggest any of that related type content to them anymore. So it really affects the person that gives the thumbs down more than it does your channel. Actually, it helps your channel because it's still engagement.
I didn't know that changed the way that YouTube pushed things to those viewers. That's actually good to know. I think obviously, I don't think, I know I have 1 or 2 thumbs down on this video, that video. But again, like I look at it, silver lining, that it's someone interacting with the video. May that be positive or negative. It's giving feedback back to YouTube that people are engaging.
Yeah. I know we may have talked about this a little bit earlier. I may have slipped my mind, but how do you record your videos?
I use my iPhone 11 Pro, and then I have a couple of different tripods, ring light, and then a couple of different, those little LED cubes that you get on Amazon for like $20. I've made a conscious effort from the start, especially when I really started this, as just, let me just mess around and make a hobby of it. And so I didn't want to go nuts and spend $500 on a light kit and all this cool stuff to do this for a month and then hate it. And so I haven't. I need to go back and figure out what goal it is I need to hit now to make a big investment in equipment. But so far, I'm happy with the quality of my content to just keep running with what I've got.
Yeah, Dutchy's got to go. Steve from Dutchy's Cooking. He's over in the United Kingdom, and it's about a little after midnight over there. So, Steve, we appreciate you, buddy, and we'll be in touch. Take care, man. Let's see. Karen says, I had 2 thumbs down on one of my recent videos. Then the next day they were gone. Has that happened to anyone else? The actual person that leaves the thumbs down, Karen, can go back and change that. They can take that thumbs down off. So anything you leave a thumbs up for or whatever, you can take it off or on, even on your own videos. And so that's a possibility. But what do you use to edit with, Drew?
Man, this is embarrassing. I use a free app called InShot on my phone. Yeah. I do everything on my phone right now. You know, the funny thing though is I've come really close to giving them the boot and finding something else, just because I've realized that they're excellent for editing content, multi-channel stuff, like a lot of different tracks, up into probably like a 15-minute video. Anything above that, it takes up too much memory. It's too much of a mess for a phone to deal with, and then I'd have to switch over to transferring things to my laptop and transferring things over to that. But it's getting me by at this point.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you use any kind of external microphone with it, or do you just use the iPhone 11 microphone?
iPhone 11. I do all of my voiceover in our master closet, where I'm surrounded by like soft sound baffling. I'm essentially just talking to a bunch of my shirts.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's funny that you say that. Off camera, we were talking about our earbuds and everything. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? You're a musician or are a musician, and
yeah, I in another life I was a professional musician for a Texas country band when I lived out in West Texas. I played mandolin and blues harmonica. I started that when I was in college, a cover band or two, playing like fraternity and sorority parties and that kind of stuff. And then from there, I was made and introduced to more professional bands. And then somebody asked me to start doing a couple of sessions with them for professional recording stuff for my harmonica work. And then when I lived in Midland, I jumped in and played with a couple bands. And one of them asked me to come try out for a official spot, I suppose. And I was working in oil and gas recruiting in Midland, to answer your question earlier that we never really got to. And that type of work gave me enough flexibility where I could take my Fridays and jump on a tour bus and travel through Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico through the weekend and do the circuit for country music, and then come back Sunday night and then go back to the corporate work on Mondays. And so I don't play near as enough at all anymore, really, because we have a young daughter, and I spend a lot of time in the kitchen now, but it's still there.
Yeah. Do you just have the one daughter?
Yes. Yeah. A 4-year-old daughter, Elise.
4-year-old. Wow. Cam, Teresa and Cam says, hey, all, we're filming tonight, so we'll be in and out of the chat. Have you been over to Flour, Eggs, and Yeast channel? Have you seen them yet?
I haven't.
Well, I'll tell you what, just for your information and everybody else in the chat room too, I leave the live chat up on my videos. So once this interview is over, it takes YouTube about anywhere from 8 to 12 hours to render the video. But if you'll come back the next day, and if you look at the video that we're doing with Drew, you'll see the live chat button. You can click on that as you watch through the replay, and you can go back through and see everybody in here, everyone's channel in here. That's something Teresa and I do. We try to go back and find anybody and everybody here that has a YouTube channel and certainly go check out their information and be sure and subscribe to them if we've not yet done so. So just that's something you may keep in mind there, Drew. When we get done tomorrow sometime, you may be able to go back through and check out some of these other folks, because there's a lot of people in here who got some good channels, and I really enjoy them. They're great people. We just we love everybody here, and we've got a great community, man. And that's one of the reasons why I was asking you about, if you were having any kind of negative feedback on your channel, because, for all of us, I've asked this many times in this show, and, the majority of the people all say that it's very minimal, and it's just a great community. Everybody's so helpful. Everybody's, so forgiving, I guess, if you will, and appreciative, because we all mess up and make mistakes at times. I know I certainly do. Contrary to what Teresa believes, I'm not perfect, but anyway.
I try to set the tone in a lot of my stuff too, where none of my recipes are, gospel. This is how it has to be and everything else is wrong. I really enjoy all of this because I'm just messing around and finding ways that suit me and my family as far as taste and flavor and ingredients. But I'm also just as excited to hear in the comments below if they don't like this, so they added this and they took this out. I encourage folks, for those who make it all the way through the video, at the end, I always ask people to give me feedback on how they tweaked my recipe and changed it to something else. Because also it's really neat to hear that people, not only watched it, said they liked it and they're going to try it, but actually hear that they tried it and they changed it by messing with it this way and that.
Yeah. Little Eric's got to go. He's down in Trinidad. So good to see you, little buddy. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you later. But touching on that, Drew, the reaction that you get from your comments, and you said something earlier, and people in the audience here know I preach this all the time. One of the best things you can do for your channel is to react and leave a comment for everyone that leaves a comment for you, because if they thought enough to leave a comment, we certainly ought to be able to go back and reply to that, and that's great. That builds engagement with the algorithm and everything, and it's powerful. But not only that, you can gain some insight on a lot of stuff, and you can get ideas from things in the comment about how to maybe reformulate a recipe or some other idea that you hadn't even thought about, and it's something you're familiar with, and you can go back. And I've made several videos just from comments that people have replied and said, hey, that'd be good on such and such or whatever, and
absolutely. So, and also just the way to present things in the future. When I was thinking about this interview, I was thinking about some of the questions you may ask, including, negative comments. I had one on, honestly, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was probably one of the more controversial videos I put up was a grilled deer heart, because not only is it wild game, but it's also, offal.
Oregon, yeah.
And so I put this recipe together, essentially making an argument for ways that you can make someone who's squeamish to the idea to enjoy it. And so there's an overnight marinade, there's a great deal of seasoning, and then you grill it and enjoy it. And as some people may know, I feel like the community for hunters and wild game folks, they're pretty salty guys and gals. And so it was one of those comments about how, well, you just, you cover it in so much stuff. What are we even eating if not just the flavoring? I bet you it's disgusting by itself, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so it helped remind me that I need to make sure they understand which way I'm coming at this. I'm not saying this is the end all be all way to enjoy it. This is the way that I think you can help people realize it's really good. Because, if you want me to make a video where I can just boil it and put some salt and pepper on it, that probably wouldn't be nearly as entertaining.
Yeah, that's right. Going down to the next channel, because that's not my channel, right?
Yeah.
Well, hey, what was on your videos? What was one of the most fun you had creating?
Oh gosh, let me think about that. It's funny because they usually don't reflect the big hit videos. The things I'm like, oh, this is going to be so great. This is so neat. This is so interesting. And then it just kind of hits the internet, and I get 5 people liking it in the first day or so. but probably the one that got me most excited more recently was the full jalapeno stuffed and then corn dog batter fried.
Yeah.
Just because it was, I don't know where the heck I got that idea. Like it started with, I wanted to do something that was chili pepper oriented to keep that portion of my viewer group happy. We're in the middle of winter, so it's not like I'm growing a lot of chili peppers and making a lot of hot sauce right now, besides the one I just made. But that was from store-bought habaneros. But I didn't have bushels upon bushels of jalapenos. Super Bowl was coming up, and so I was also trying to think of something I could do for the actual Super Bowl party that we were hosting. And I started with the idea of taking a whole jalapeno, coring it out, putting a hot dog in it, and then putting a skewer through it, and then making it a corn dog that way. And then I was like, well, the hot dog sounds gross.
Yeah.
And so like there's a lot of R&D that went into that, where I put cream cheese and then cooked bacon and put bacon bits inside of it and cheddar cheese. And then I made a corn dog batter and then dipped them in corn dog batter and then deep fried them in the cast iron. They were fantastic. And so I was really satisfied with the end result.
As a matter of fact, let's see, I wrote no, you can't see it, but I wrote your recipe down for corn dog batter. Watching that video, so I'm going to be using that. So I thought that was a great video. What was one of them that you had the most trouble making?
I've been more or less pretty fortunate as far as I haven't had anything where I put it together and take a bite and tell my video that it's delicious when it wasn't good, or I had to start over and refilm. Everything I've made has come out the way I was hoping for. And so nothing comes to mind that was a big letdown or what have you.
Yeah,
probably I guess probably the closest vein to that kind of story is I made a cowboy candy with predominantly ghost peppers, where instead of taking jalapenos that you then pickle in sugar, essentially, I did it with ghost peppers, and it ended up being so spicy that I still have probably 95% of it in my fridge. I bring it out to friends who like hot stuff, but for the most part, it's like just so extremely spicy that I can enjoy it every so often, but nobody else wants to join in.
You said something that's funny. You said something in one of your videos, and it just, I hadn't even thought about it, but it's so true. You said if you have something that's real spicy like that, you can add a little sugar to it and it'll pull some of the spice down, but it still keeps the flavor. And I don't know if a lot of people really realize that, but that's so true.
Well, that's actually that's an answer to Victoria and Aaron's question from way earlier, asking about what impressions I got from multicultural cooking and dining here in Houston picked up. That's a really big thing in Chinese cooking and other Asian cooking. A lot of that stuff has fresh, chili peppers in it, but you're not, sweating to death and dying and coughing and burping eating Chinese food typically. It's because they incorporate a lot of sugar also in their dish. And it's a natural blocker of the capsaicin receptors in your mouth, where the more sugar you use, the more it kind of coats your mouth in something that blocks that ouch. And so you then just taste the pepper and get a little bit of the heat. And obviously, like I just said, for the cowboy candy, I mean, that's like sugar preserved ghost peppers, and it's still really, really hot. So like there's a level where it's just too hot to make a difference, but it helps a whole lot for those like low and mid-range peppers like habaneros, jalapenos, Thai chilies, that kind of stuff.
That's what Cam was saying.
Yeah, ghost peppers are above what is consumable. Wow, I just realized we're bumping right over a little over an hour. Are you able to stay with us a little bit longer, or do we need to?
Yeah, okay. I'm here.
I don't want to keep you too long, but I just realized we're already at an hour, man. There's so many things I could ask you right now, but let's get to a little bit of trivia stuff, if you don't mind. What's one of your favorites? Breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Which one do you prefer?
Man, as far as just a regular day, I'm shuffling around in my house and I want to make something. It's usually breakfast for lunch. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so that's a whole side thing. But now that if you keep that in mind and look at a lot of my videos, most of the things are protein based or fat based, and usually not a whole lot of carbs besides the fried foods. But so breakfast is usually the simplest of dishes to make that doesn't have a whole lot of bread or sugar involved. So, bacon, eggs, some type of complicated omelet, all those things are fantastic.
Yeah. How's that going? Is that something you
Good.
had since you was a child, or something you acquired later? Yeah.
Usually it is.
I have juvenile diabetes. I was diagnosed when I was 14. I'm 36 now, and healthy as you would expect and hope for. I'm actually the president of the JDRF Young Leadership Committee here in South Texas. We do a whole lot of work on getting the word out and fundraising and getting money to the various establishments that are trying to find a cure.
Wow, that's awesome.
Right.
Appreciate you for doing that, no doubt. What's one of the most what's one of your favorite, I guess, foods to cook?
Man, that changes with the wind. As far as barbecue, I really enjoy making brisket. I love the process. I love the time that's put into it, and then usually it culminates in having 20 to 30 people at your house telling you how great it is. So that's just extremely rewarding. On the other end, I also really enjoy pickling things, just because for whatever reason, people just don't do that anymore. And there's an infinite universe of ways of messing around with that and trying different ways of recipes. And they make fantastic gifts, and they're portable and easy to bring over to friends and say, try this out. It'll blow your mind.
Yeah, that's true. We used to make a lot of garlic dill pickles. Everybody loved them. We give them away at
Some okra.
Okra.
I have the hardest time with okra. It always, I've tried it 3 or 4 times and it's always slimy. I don't know what trick I'm missing, but get excited, open the jar, and it didn't work.
You may try alum if you've not used alum in it.
That might be it.
Yeah. Which one was it, Trish?
Well, they're asking about, do you know anything?
Small Town Mac.
His mom.
I don't know anything new. No, I meant to text him today, Jeff, and I forgot to do that. He did text me and say he was on his way back home, so I don't know. I'll have to try to. I thought he might be in here tonight.
Mac's mom.
Mac's mom, yeah. Had a heart attack the other night, so. Yeah. What's one of your favorite foods to eat? I may have already asked that, but what's your favorite food to eat?
I really enjoy just cooking a really good New York strip in the house. My wife and I, we usually get just one delicious big New York strip, and I'll reverse sear it in the kitchen, where I'll put it in the oven for 20 minutes, take it out of the oven and put it on the cast iron, sear each side, and then get butter with rosemary and garlic, and spoon the butter over the steak for a couple of minutes. And I mean, it's just really hard to hate that.
Yeah, I've seen you do that on the Big Green Egg too.
Yeah,
seen a video of that. So, you like ice cream?
Yeah, honestly. Well, no, I mean, I don't actually have a sweet tooth, which kind of works for me. I'm a huge salt person, and my wife's the same way. I'm horribly addicted to sunflower seeds. I'm usually running through a whole packet of that in a day or two. So that's my ice cream.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I like salt too. I think it's great. Yeah, she says the over salt thing. You ought to see one of his steaks. I seen him salt down. I thought, go for it, brother. I'm with you right there now. So, on preferences, what do you prefer, hot dog or hamburger?
Hamburger.
Unless
it's a really, really fancy hot dog.
Yeah. Do you grind your own meat?
Venison, I do. Otherwise, no.
Yeah.
Like I'll mess around and get back or fat back and put that in with venison, or even split it up, half ground hamburger, half venison, or just straight venison. It's just one of those tinkering things.
Yeah. Do you make snack sticks or anything like that? Summer sausage out of your venison?
I let the processors mess with the more complicated stuff, just because I don't have a good big setup like that.
Yeah.
Like I've got a dough I have the processor right now that I should be getting, like 20, 25 pounds of jalapeno cheese smoked sausage in the next week or two. And then I'll make jerky, and I love keeping the hindquarters for roasts and doing a bunch of just fun stuff there and steaks. But I haven't invested in all the equipment to go wild with the other stuff yet.
Yeah. Well, I noticed you cut that hindquarter down pretty good. Where did you learn how to do that?
Trial and error.
Really? You did it on your own? Nobody taught you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just, well, I mean, besides a couple of YouTube videos at the very beginning of things, understanding that a lot of those muscles are connected to just seams. And once you kind of learn to feel your way, how they kind of separate, you just kind of run from it from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed that video. That was pretty cool. Well, I know we've had a great time. We've had a lot of fun here. We've been cutting up and carrying on, but we're going to have to get serious here for just a minute. And I've got to ask you a very serious question. This can be life and death to some of the people in the chat room here, but do you put pineapple on a pizza?
Man, that's so in college, I worked my way through college, or a portion of paying for college was being a delivery pizza guy. And so I think I've had every pizza that you can imagine, plus a few more that you would never, ever think of. And so I did at one point in my life, but I definitely don't now.
Don't do that now. So it's not taboo. It's just something that you've kind of evolved from, I guess.
Yeah, outgrew that.
I was a very broke college kid, feeding myself breakfast, lunch, and dinner for pizza for a while there. And so anything you can think of, I've made a pizza with it. And I'm good with pizza. I'm all right with not having another slice.
Uncle Steve popped in here for just a minute. He said he's got to give the girls a bath. Are you familiar with Uncle Steve's shakes?
I'm not.
No, he's got some good shake-ons, and man, we just love them. I know you're using a different brand and everything. What was the name of it?
Musket powder.
Musket powder, yeah, that white one. I seen you.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, Steve's got some great shakes. We had him on a few weeks back, and we did a giveaway. And Teresa and I have all 10 of his shakes, and man, we love every one of them. I think probably my favorite is going to be Gator Shake and the Spicy R and the original. And but he's got one that he does for dessert and different things too. But anyway, he's popped in here, so good to see him. Big Lou's in the house with us. Good to have you, Big Lou. So now I can start. Big Lou's here.
So we got to start from the top. We got a whole other hour to cover.
Yeah, we got to start all over now. So how did what made you decide to start a YouTube channel? No, I'm just kidding. Lou, you'll have to go back and watch a replay, buddy. This is a great interview, and I'm really having a good time with it. But so getting back to the preferences questions, what do you prefer, pork steak or beef steak? I don't know this being a Texan.
Probably beef steak.
Yeah, I really liked that. You was talking about that brisket earlier. I really enjoyed that brisket video you did too, and I seen how much flavoring and seasoning and rub you put on that. And I thought, yeah. And then right before you got ready to put it in, said, this is a thick cut of meat, so this looks heavy, but it's really not. So
it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with 10 to 15 pounds of beef. If you put an inch of seasoning on the top, you'll barely even notice it if you're taking a whole bite of something.
Yeah. Here's Steve's website, UncleSteveShake.com, for anybody interested in that. And Uncle Steve, we certainly appreciate you, buddy. No doubt about it. Now, as far as like toppings, or not toppings, but sauces, do you have a favorite sauce? Mustard, ketchup, mayonnaise, your own homemade sauce, marinara sauce, ranch, blue cheese?
There's a sauce that I've gotten really into more recently. It's called comeback sauce. It's traditionally Mississippi. It's a mixture of, I'm going to try to think off the top of my head. It's Worcestershire, ketchup, Duke's mayonnaise, a little bit of lemon juice, salt and pepper, maybe one or two other things if you want to get wild. And it just comes out as this really just great little bit of a zip and just creamy. I featured it in one of my alligator recipes. I think it's for grilled alligator. it just goes well with just about anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Now, when you was a kid, did you eat the crust on bread or did you eat around it?
I usually ate it.
Yeah. You still eat it now, and the crust on pizza? And...
I don't eat a lot of bread.
Yeah, that's right. Being a diabetic.
Yeah. I mean, but if I am eating pizza, it's usually because I'm dying for a piece of pizza or I'm dying for a sandwich. You know, I love the idea of eating a big old pile of carbs every so often, and I'll eat every crumb.
Yeah, I heard that.
Oh, here you go. Here's one.
We got a question here. Okay, Cam says, how much air frying is taking place at Drew's? You use an air fryer?
0. I use deep fry in the cast iron.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I mean, I really appreciate you because I'm going to tell you what, Cam is an instigator. I want you to take note of the name here, this channel name. He's a troublemaker, and what he's trying to do, see, they've been pushing me. Teresa's been wanting an air fryer, and so they've been on me about it. They know I cook in cast iron all the time.
Well, does your oven have convection? Convection setting? Because what I found, which I think is funny, is, I mean, I'm fine with, I don't want to make Cam mad or get a whole half your chat room upset, but air fryers are just convection ovens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if your oven has the convection setting, you have an air fryer already in your house.
Yeah.
And it's just maybe one less gadget for your counter.
I have 2 or 3 of them. They're called Dutch ovens, Cam.
Yeah, there's that too.
So,
It's been kind of an ongoing thing.
yeah, they're
swooping in to talk about air fryers.
they're causing trouble. They're instigating. But that's all right. So, well, I know the breading and different things like that's a problem, but do you like tater tots, French fries, or onion rings, either one?
Ooh, if they have tater tots, I'm excited about tater tots. Because
really?
You can mess up a French fry, but usually tater tots are going to come out pretty good.
Yeah. You make, you got a dish you make with tater tots or just cook them like they are?
I mean, besides just throwing a bunch of cheese and God knows what else on it. I mean, it's just tater tots are good.
Yeah, I hear you. If there was one food that you couldn't do without for the rest of your life, what would that be?
So this is one that I would always eat or could do without.
Either one.
Oh, dang.
I'm not going to make it easy on you, man.
If I could only eat one type of food for the rest of my life, are we doing like broad? I mean, I could probably live off of Mexican food for the rest of my life. That's hard to hate, even at excess.
That's so true, man. I can throw just about anything in a tortilla and I'm good.
Exactly.
So I'm kind of the same way on that. What are you most proud of in your life?
Oh, man. You went from funny to very serious.
He does this, yeah.
Shoot. Yeah, it'll probably get more and more developed as the years pass, but I'm really, really happy with where I am right now with my family, my wife and our 4-year-old and I. Yeah. I think maybe that has to do with a lot of reflection in the last year, working from home, being home, spending a whole lot more time with everybody up close and personal. We get along great, and there's just a bunch of little moments that I've been able to just really savor.
That's
especially
cool.
with the 4-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is 80% of the time fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, here's another one's a troublemaker too. I interviewed him the other night. I thought he was my friend. They're all turning their back on me, Drew. I can't get over it. I got a crowbar going to open up my pocketbook. But hey, I got something I want to share with you guys, man. We just popped over 700 subscribers just earlier.
That's awesome.
Somebody mentioned it. Yeah.
Karen mentioned it, I think.
705 last count I had, but who's counting, right? We're like everybody else, we try to interview a lot smaller channels, anywhere from 0 subscribers up to about 10,000 or so. And so that's a big hint there, Lou. I'm just not hinting, calling any names or anything, but I'd love to interview you sometime. I know you got 10,000, but we're trying to move on up now. We just have a good time. We try to introduce our audience to other people, that's up and coming, and kind of get to know everybody. So we certainly enjoy that. And I'm no different. I'm on my way up too and trying to get to 1,000 and beyond. 1,000's just a milestone. I'm not looking to get there and say, "Oh, I'm done. I've arrived." No, no way, man. And sometimes it seems like that when you talk to people, they think, "Well, I just want to get to 1,000." Well, what about then? What after that?
Well, I was going to say, you hit 1,000, and then you start looking at the guys with 5,000 or 10,000 or 100,000. Right? It's more about just enjoying the journey, and like I said before, having that mindset of just making it work where you can continue to do this, and it's not a hindrance on your life.
Yeah. You have any pet peeves?
In what sense? In the YouTube world, or just all around?
Life in general, yeah.
Oh gosh. People who say they'll be somewhere or do something and then don't. Follow through is important.
Yeah, no doubt about it. How would your friends describe you?
Depends on the friend. Generally I can get along with just about everybody. Usually find fun in just about any situation. I've definitely heard that a few times from people. I love talking and I love meeting people. I've always worked in some type of sales role, and I think that shows my personality. I'm what's that called? A introverted or an extroverted introvert, where I do well on a stage. I love meeting people and talking, but I also really enjoy me charging time too.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Certainly can. Let's see. I think I've already asked that one. I won't do that. But back to the videos a little bit. How much time do you spend on your YouTube channel a week?
That's a good question. So however long it takes to cook the thing, it takes that long to film it, more or less. And usually it takes an extra 30 minutes to an hour, just because I'm being extra careful about not messing something up or having the prepped food in a pretty bowl so I can pour it into another bowl and that kind of stuff. So, if and typically everything I'm cooking or eating that night or for a party or something. So I'm sure I've annoyed the heck out of my wife when I'm saying we're going to eat X, Y, and Z for dinner, but I'm going to film it first. So, sit back and enjoy the time period. But after the actual initial shoot, probably put another hour into voiceover over a day. Usually I try to do it in one go. I'll write out kind of like a bullet point idea of what I want to say, and then just do voiceover in one run over the footage and segments. Yeah. And then it'll probably take me 30 minutes to another hour to then edit and sync everything to make sense. So that's probably 3 to 4 hours of video, if not maybe a little more if it's a very long process, like a recipe that takes a lot more time.
Do you have a schedule, or do you have a certain amount of videos you try to do a week, one a week or two a week or anything?
I have like an internal stress schedule where I don't feel like I'm being productive if I'm not putting something out every week. We had that crazy freeze down here last week, so I wasn't able to post anything, and that definitely bugged me. So I like to have something produced every week, but also part of what I was saying about just kind of getting used to doing this for not just the next couple of months, but hopefully for a very long time, years and years on end. I'm trying to get comfortable with the idea of having a full episode out every week or every 2 weeks, depending on how long and how thorough the recipe therein is. Yeah. Just so that I'm not, bugging myself. If life gets in the way, or something to do with my daughter or my wife or whatever, where I just can't get something filmed in time. I don't want to be stressing, staying up in the middle of the night, sweating it out, and not enjoying the process.
And that can happen. I know if you're not careful, that can happen. But then again, on the other hand, if you get too lackadaisical, you can let them go by. And I mean, time waits for no one. And I know Teresa, there's been times I'll come in and she'll say, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Well, I need to record something. I need to get something up." and that I've been wanting to work on. But hey, you mentioned something about the storm. We had like 9 inches of snow here in
Wow.
northeast Arkansas. So how did that affect you guys down that way?
Oh man, it was pretty rough. I don't know about inches of snow, but it just got really cold, and we didn't have power in our house for I think nearly 4 days. Let me think. It was Valentine's Day evening is when the storm blew in, and then that night around 2 a.m. My wife woke me up because she noticed that the power had shut off, and it was like 20, 25 outside or something.
Yeah.
And all these houses down here are built to breathe well because it gets 95, 105, not 105 usually, but 95 to like 100, 101 in the summer, with high humidity. So our houses are made to have breezeways and be cool. And so the second it gets cold in the house. And then I think the next day we woke up and it was like a winter wonderland outside. Still had no power. Made breakfast on the green egg, boiled some coffee on the green egg, and tried to figure out what we were going to do. And that night it got down to 12, and we actually left to go to my mother's house nearby because she still had power. And when we left our house, the thermostat was somewhere around 40 inside. And I know it got down to the 30s in our house because there were some bits of water places that were frozen. But we were really fortunate where we didn't have any burst pipes. We have a lot of friends who had that issue. It's just we weren't built for that type of hard snap. And our whole city wasn't built for that hard snap. We didn't have power or water for the majority of that week, which was, not ideal.
Mark over at Never Say Never Barbecue's got this infatuation with Little Debbie's cakes, and he's wondering if I missed asking you what's your favorite Little Debbie cake.
Well, that's got to be the little chocolate rolls with the white in it.
Swiss.
Little Debbie's, isn't it? Oh, the Swiss ones.
Swiss roll.
Yeah, Swiss rolls. Tennessee Buck thought he was going to be a honey bun, but he's wrong.
Not a honey bun guy.
Yeah. He's wrong on more than one level. He went against me earlier too on that air fryer deal. So, hey, we're gonna get ready and wind down here. I don't want to keep you too long and everything. I know you got the child and everything. You need to spend some time. And but what is one thing that no one knows about you or would never believe?
Oh, geez. I've lived in Puerto Rico for 5 years. And that one's pretty weird. I worked as a professional musician. That one's we already talked about, but a lot of folks think that's pretty interesting. I don't know. I definitely have just kind of an onion personality or background where, half of me is this way, the other half of me is that way, and have a bunch of different layers of interests and hobbies.
Yeah. Well, I always like to ask this because I get such a crazy answer on this, but what if you were arrested with no explanation, what would your friends and family assume you had done?
Oh man, is there like a truthful answer and a funny answer?
Got some good ones.
Yeah, we've had some pretty good ones actually.
Probably public intoxication of some type.
Public intoxication, and they wouldn't believe it, huh?
As he takes a drink of his beer.
As he takes a drink of his beer. Yeah, that's right. That's funny right there. But, well, man, I tell you what, Drew, you've been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of good laughs and enjoyment here. We certainly appreciate it. Everybody in the chat room, guys, if you've not yet been over to Drew's channel, Outdoor Indoor Texan, be sure and go check him out. He's got some great videos up. He's a good guy, and he's doing great. And he's sincere, and you can tell it in his videos. He's certainly going to go far, no doubt. But if you like what he's doing, be sure and watch his video. Give him a thumbs up on him. Leave him a comment. And if you're not yet subscribed, be sure and tell him you've seen him over at Mr. Cast Iron and hit the subscribe button. I know he'll certainly appreciate that. And we appreciate everybody here in the chat room with us. And just one quick thing, Drew, if there was anything that you could say to our folks in the chat room or even to your subscribers, what would you like to say to them before we go?
Well, thank y'all for watching. I say that at the beginning and at the end of every video, but I just feel like I'm just talking to myself in a closet full of shirts usually. And it blows my mind when I get this much interaction or interest in what I'm doing in my little corner of my life. It means the world to me. And I just love sharing things and what little bit of expertise I have with everybody else. And it's just as important to hear what everybody else has learned and how they run with whatever the heck I share and what they do with it.
Yeah. Well, I always ask too, how can everybody follow you? Steven's got everything together here compiled, but you're certainly on YouTube, no doubt, but you're also on Instagram. Is that one of the better places to try to follow you there?
Yeah, both those things are the things I post stuff in. Instagram, I try to be, obviously, I can be a bit more active with. If you want to send me messages and interact with my day-to-day, I try to just kind of whatever the heck I'm cooking or messing with, I'll take a video or a picture of it there. Whereas obviously a whole lot more production and sweat goes into putting a YouTube video up every week or two.
Yeah. Well, buddy, we sure appreciate you. We're going to go ahead and call it a night. We thank you for being here with us. We've had a lot of fun. And folks in the chat room, we appreciate all you guys being with us. And we'll be coming back to you soon again next week. I got Melissa from One Hot Bite on next Sunday. We won't have a Saturday night show. So if you're able to tune in, just be sure and check us out, and we'll be glad to see you then. And you guys have a great night. We'll talk to you later. It's Mike and Mrs. Cast Iron over here at Mr. Cast Iron. We'll see you guys later. Have a good night.
Thank you.